Like-minded people.
The culture, the craft, the conversation. Welcome to Like-Minded People, the podcast. I'm Fokus, a drum and bass artist with over 25 years of experience in the underground music scene. But more importantly, I'm a huge fan of MCs. This podcast takes a deep dive into the fascinating world of MCs from across the musical spectrum, hitting it from all angles, discussions, interviews, freestyles, and more. So if you share my love for MCs, or you're curious and want to find out more, you're in exactly the right place. Yes, back on the other side, much needed toilet break. So I've got none other than Mantmast having a conversation with me this afternoon. By the way, it's a bank holiday Monday. We're recording this on bank holiday Monday, and in true UK style, why am I talking about the weather? In true UK style, it's raining. So what better way to spend your drizzly bank holiday afternoon than chatting to one of your favourite MCs, picking his brains, learning about him as a person, and now we're going to get into mic techers. Because Like-Minded People is all about the culture, the craft, and the conversation. They're like the three pillars, if you like. Obviously, this whole podcast is the conversation, so we're definitely ticking that box. I want to get into the craft. So I'm going to kind of hand over to you. It's not really a question so much at this stage. There will be some questions, but why don't you break down your approach to how you construct your bars, the craft, lyric writing, all that kind of stuff. Whatever comes up for you, tell me.
I've got quite a structured approach when it comes to writing lyrics. I will think of a phrase or a rhyming couplet, a little phrase that rhymes or links in with something, and I'll note it down. I'll put it in my notes on my phone or something, and that'll be the starting point, the foundation of a 16 or a 32 or whatever I'm going to write. So from that, it's just a case of, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle, right? When I'm writing these bars, you've got to make it make sense, and it's got to sound right. And the pieces, aka the lines, the bars, have got to fit in the right place. And there's a lot of jigging about and finessing and honing and trimming. And so I might come up with a 16 after, a couple of hours of formulating, but then I'll go back to it after, maybe the next day or after a couple of days, and I'll tweak it and I'll think of something better to add to it or to adjust it. And that's really how I approach it. And I write, as I touched on in the first part of the show, I write over hip hop instrumentals. I sit in my room, I whack something on the headphones, and I'll just start formulating and just let it come organically. And that's how I do it. It's quite a structured approach system that I've got when it comes to writing, man. So yeah.
There's lots I want to, man, there's so much you said there that it's kind of, my ears have pricked up. I love, well, two things I love actually. I wrote these words down just because it helps me keep on track as well. But yeah, jigsaw. I love the analogy of a jigsaw, putting the different pieces together. I love that. And then the word that you said, finesse. Yeah, finessing it. Just expand on that for me. Like what is finessing it? What does that look like? What does that mean, man? I love that word.
It's kind of hard to explain and put into words as such, but when I say finessing it, I mean making the bar sound right, making it sound good over the beat, whether it's the cadence or the rhyme scheme, which is the pattern of the rhyme, sitting nicely over the beat, and then leading into the next lyric, the next bar. So I might write something, and in fact, it always happens. My initial sketch of a lyric will always have holes in it and always need tweaking. So I go into that concept knowing exactly what this project's going to take a little while. It's not going to be finished after a couple of hours. So yeah, it's about making the it's about finessing the couplets really, and making, see, my rhyme style, I'm getting quite techie here, but my rhyme style is usually the last couple of words, the last 3 or 4 words match exactly in rhyme scheme and rhyming the following lyric, the following bar. So that's how it works, really. I know I ain't explained
Bruv,
that very well, man. So yeah,
no, you
just
did, and I loved like getting into this techie bit because this is, yeah, from a fan perspective. Forget the fact that I am seeing myself. Yeah, this is what I want to hear, and there's so many people listening to this. This is what we want to be delving into. So it sounds like if I was going to almost like reflect back to you what you said, just to check that I understand the process that you're talking about. It sounds like you put on a beat, you get your phone out, you get something down, and then you let it breathe, you sleep on it, come back to it, and then it's almost like you've got the metaphorical chisel out and you're kind of chiseling little bits to like perfect the sculpture. Is it a perfection thing? Like, does it need to be perfect for you? Like, does the word perfect even
perfection is
fit into
impossible
this?
to achieve for me myself. Like I'm never happy. I'm never completely content with anything that I write. But it's about getting it as good as you can. Um, and sometimes you get really close to that perfection, and it's a great feeling when you're spitting that bar in a live environment and it sits so well, and you get that crowd reaction. It's a great feeling. But yeah, it's about coming close as possible to it sounding as perfect as you can. Another thing I didn't mention is that once that bar is locked down, I'll then use a voice recording app, actually an app called Veloco on my iPhone, and I'll record it again over an instrumental. And that's something I've started introducing maybe a couple of years ago, um, just to have it in audio format so I can play it back and just get it ingrained in my long-term memory.
Hey, Veloco. I've
Yeah,
not
man.
even heard of this.
Yeah,
So
I sent you
these
that
because
thing. I sent
recently
you that
you've sent me a
file.
couple of bits.
Yeah,
So that's recorded in that. So
that's on
what's
Veloco.
the difference between Veloco and just recording a voice? Oh, okay. It lets you like
You got the
actually
beat.
record over the
Yeah,
right.
it's open
Okay, so it's like
source
having like oh, see, so it's like almost like having Cubase in your pocket, like a
in a
basic.
way. Yeah, it's not a beat making app, but
By which I mean that you can record a vocal track
yeah,
over a music track
yeah,
as separate
yeah,
things.
absolutely. As a
Wow.
separate file, and even on the basic level without a subscription on the app, you can do a lot with the vocal, and a lot with the audio as well. There's a lot of manipulation you've got. So just as a sketch thing, I'm not going to be
Yeah, yeah.
releasing it as a tune or whatever, but just to get ideas down. Yeah, man, I've been using that a lot, and it's helping a lot as well. It's making me more productive too, man.
Wicked, mate. That's a great tip there for any, including myself, to be fair. But yeah, any MCs listening to this, then that yeah, I think there's something. I totally agree. The way to really lock a lyric in is to just it's that repetition, isn't it? Like hearing it back, listening back to it. I think yeah, that really resonates with me. So, do you just record that like using the mic on your phone?
I'll do it through headphones like these or whatever. I've just actually
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
new pair
Okay.
of headphones. The Bose ones I had before were perfect for it. It just the sound was great. I've had to recalibrate things a little bit with these Sony ones, but yeah, like I said, real basic stuff, man. No external mic as such, just through the headphones. But the quality is, as you probably heard that track today, it's not too bad, man. It does the job.
That sounded really good. Sounded really good. Okay, that's a nice little yeah, exclusive tip from Mantmast there, people, for Loco.
Giving away
Okay,
too many
I'm just
secrets,
writing
man.
that down on my pad. Yeah, nah, he's sharing the love, bro. He's sharing the
I'm
love.
removing the
I'm
mystique.
interested about the hip hop thing. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what we're here to do, innit? Like, it doesn't have to be too mysterious. Well, having said that, there is something quite enticing about your favorite MCs being shrouded in this kind of secrecy. But I think in this day and age, like it's different back in the day where you didn't know what people looked like because you only ever heard them on radio or something like that. This day and age, like we're all over social media, is what it is, right? So yeah, I think it's all about yeah, just letting those secrets out there for people to enjoy. Yeah, the hip hop thing. So what are you basically saying that you literally only write over hip hop?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that what you're
Well, I'll
saying?
construct initially, and then yeah,
Mm.
I might have a few D&B tracks that I'll lace, but I just feel because there's a lot going on with D&B in terms of the structure of the music. Um, it's easier just to lace my bars over a simple hip hop instrumental than with D&B. But because of the structure of my lyric, the rhyme scheme of it, it sits neatly over D&B. I can literally don't have to change the BPM of it, don't have to change anything. I can just transpose it quite nicely over a D&B track. It's weird, man. Why I will yeah, I will practice over D&B, obviously, but yeah, when it comes to formulating, yeah, just hip hop instrumentals, really.
I think the question that then almost comes up for me straight away is, how come you don't do hip hop? Or do you? Am I
Mm.
mistaken? You know,
Mm.
you're a solid D&B guy.
Yeah,
Is there anything a desire within you to do more in the world of hip hop?
yeah, potentially, never say no, but I think this is drum and bass is really the career path that I've kind of organically been drawn to and gone down. And yeah, if the opportunity arose, definitely, man. Yeah, I love hip hop, but as well as that, I write my bars over instrumentals, over hip hop instrumentals, but the content of my bars, it's hard to describe. See, I've got mates who are sick hip hop MCs, and they're complex and they're deep and they're full of linguistic trickery. And I don't really do that with my D&B bars. They're quite formulaic, they're quite structured, they're not really monotonous, but they follow a certain pattern. And I don't think that sits well necessarily, or works well rather, with hip hop. The content of what I'm saying, it's more geared towards the raver. It's more, there's more analogies and references that are more relevant to drum and bass. So yeah, it would mean I'd have to probably rework the structure of what I'm saying if I wanted to do that over hip hop. It's a weird kind of contradiction in a way, that I do write so much over instrumentals, but I do use those bars for drum and bass. But yeah, I think the content of my bars just works better over drum and bass. It's quite simplistic in a way.
It's interesting because I'm just thinking about the last two things you sent me were both like hip hop beats.
Mm, that's
So
right.
even when you recorded it into this app that you're talking about for
Mm,
Loco, you've recorded it over a hip hop beat as well.
mm, mm. That's right. Because it's an open source thing, right? So you can use people's beats, people upload their beats or whatever, and you can buy
Oh,
licenses
okay.
if you want to publish it. But yeah, on a personal level, they've got more hip hop instrumentals on that app than D&B ones, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's easier to write a little hip hop
Okay.
beat than a decent sort of D&B tune, right? It's a lot easier, to be fair. A lot of these rhythms are like banged out, sound like they're banged out on NPCs or whatever, and Fruity Loops. So yeah, that's kind of the bulk of the content, the audio content on Veloco. So yeah, that's why you hear me over the hip hop instrumental.
Okay. Content. I want to dip into your content because I make no bones about this. Like when I think a man deserves his flowers, I will give someone their flowers. I don't give a shit, and I don't want to gas you up too much, but equally, when I listen to you, like I spend 99% of the time just smiling because there's something about your. I love your tone. I love your style. I love the way you weave in and out. But when it comes to the actual content, there's almost like I feel like I don't know if the word humor is correct, but it's not like they're sort of parody bars or they're like silly bars at all. But there's like almost an element of humor where I come away just sort of smiling, thinking, "Oh, boom, there he goes again." Even this morning, I was listening to a set, and like reference points. Now I put myself on the spot. I'm going to bloody forget them, aren't I? But you're talking about Reeves and Mortimer.
Yeah,
You're talking about food and drink. You're talking about something about Cocoa Pops, fresh 97s with the polo socks. There's bits about I mean, we need to talk about this as well, the football players.
yeah.
Yeah, so if I said to you like do you get what I'm saying? Like they're not
Cultural
humorous in the sense that
references,
like you're
man.
doing like parody. Yeah, okay. So
Yeah, they're
talk to me
just
about
cultural
why
references,
that's
right?
important to you.
They're little reference points. I don't know, that are relevant for what's happening now. I mean, The reason Mortimer thing. That's probably an old bar, right? Um, Back when they were more relevant than what they are now. But yeah, I like dropping these bars in, man. I'm a big Arsenal fan, as you know, huge gooner, and I love a little. I've had to kind of broaden it, so I'm not just talking about Arsenal players. Got a Kulusevski lyric, got a Maresca bar. I've got to keep everyone happy because I've done gigs before, chatting about Arsenal. I've had loads of Tottenham people in there, Chelsea
Oh, you're
fans, and
joking. Really?
it's got rowdy,
Oh,
man. And I've
flipping
had
hell.
to, you know, they,
Really?
I've had to kind of balance things out a little bit. So that's another thing I've had to kind of bear in
That's
mind.
a
But
madness. That's a madness.
mm,
Well, look, I'm going to go on record right now, right here. Mantmast is the football bar's don. I'm saying that. I'm calling it because
that's an
I don't hear.
accolade.
I almost think like it's. I don't mean it in like it's not a gimmick at all. But I think it's almost like becoming your trademark in it. Like who, you're consistently coming with football bars that just. And the funny thing is, like, this is going to sound like a random thing to say, but I need to big up my 11-year-old son Dexter because it's thanks to him that I even get these references. Because a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have had a flipping clue about all these football bars. You could be talking about all these players, and it would
You're
go
not a
over my
football
head.
guy, are
But
you,
my
Phil?
son, well, not really, not
No.
really. But my son got me into football about, let's say, about 18 months ago, and now I am a football guy. I'm watching Match of the Day. Like last week. Do you know what? Like the great thing, this ain't going to become a football podcast, by the way, people. Don't worry. The great thing for me is, and just like John just touched on, I'm not affiliated to any team. I love players. I love football. I love the Premier League and blah blah blah. But I don't mind. There's certain teams that I prefer to others, but I'm more into the players. So I can because I like Eze. Then if Crystal Palace are playing, I'm cool. I like Saka. So if Arsenal are playing, I'm cool. I like the Villa boys. So there's a couple of teams I'm not really massively into Tottenham and Man U. I don't know why. But I like the players, so I'm in a privileged position where I don't get upset if the team loses. I can just enjoy the match. Like if Wolves are playing, wicked. But yeah, big up my son Dexter because he got me into this, and now I can actually talk about football. But more importantly, to bring it back to this, I get the football references. So even this morning, and this I've got to mention this because again, it just makes me like it brings a smile of pleasure to my face. Like you're talking, right? Make sure I remember this. You're talking about Bert Leno and you're talking so obviously well not obviously like I had to ask my football connect about this, but he was saying yeah he went from Arsenal to Fulham, right?
That's right. Along
Yeah,
with a
and
lot of
then
Arsenal players.
obviously okay, well
Mm.
this is what made me wonder as well because when we were at Cool FM a few weeks back, I'm not even going to lie, this one would have gone over my head, but our mutual friend Rich Viginobi, obviously another fellow
Big up,
Arsenal
Rich.
supporter, he was he was going mad when you dropped this bar. So I had to say to him, what's this one about? And you were talking about ESR.
Yeah, I love ESR, man.
So tell people if you can just for a minute, just break down this. What's the whole ESR reference about?
ESR are the initials of one of a beloved ex-Arsenal football player, still a young kid, man. Emil Smith-Rowe is his full name, and he's single-handedly responsible for Arteta keeping his job a few years ago when he scored a very, very important goal. Um, he's a technically extremely adept player, and I'm very sadly we sold him to our London rivals Fulham last season. He didn't even want to go, man. You can see the pain on his face in the Fulham kit, and he's getting his photos taken. But he was one of my favourite players, man. I got a love for Emil Smith Rowe. When he was coming through, it was at the same time as Saka as well. And they were both when they were playing together, it was a beautiful sight. So that's the ESR bar. What is it?
Yeah.
Black belt technique ESR. Again, that's another catchphrase I'm trying to trying to copyright the whole black belt technique. Just little things like that, man, which kind of identify you as an MC. You got a little trademark, right?
Yeah. Okay, so that's what you were talking about earlier with the like the praying mantis stuff, that kind of kung fu connection, that sort of business. Yeah. But yeah, the ESR bar, that I caught that one, and then obviously Visionobi broke it down with me. And I even asked you, didn't I, to send me if you could send me the bar just so I could
Lyric, man.
really, really dissect it and educate myself. But yeah, I feel like the football thing, yeah, it's got legs, man. I'm listening out now, so I want to hear more football bars,
Okay.
please, from your good self. And the other one I need to mention again, like now I put myself on the spot. Do you know what it is, John? Like there's too many. The honest truth is there's too many. I wanted to come on this podcast and start almost like reading off my top 5 Mantmast bars or couplets, but I just couldn't do it because I was listening to these mixes thinking, that one's sick. This one. But the one that and I know I've said this to you before, but the I suggest you come like John Lennon and let it
Mm.
be.
Yeah, yeah. That's an old
When
one,
you
man.
dropped that one at the Thames Delta cipher that we
Mm.
did whenever that was a while back, it's just, and you could tell like I watched a video about like people are slapping the walls, but all sort of like it's putting a smile on our faces, bruv. That's what I love.
I love that cipher, man. That was a wicked set, yeah. Everyone come with their heavy artillery, the full weaponry on that one, man. Yeah, it was sick. So, yeah, man, I missed that, you know. I missed that. I used to have a little sparring partner, when I was growing up. Big up Rupert, MC Burley, one of my longest friends, and we used to feed each other off each other a lot, man. Like, just bars
I
in
recognise
and
that name, Burley.
Burley.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He MC'd for HQ, man. He was in Oxford
Oh, okay.
back in the HQ days. And when you got someone to bounce off, it really does drive you and inspire you. I felt it was a really inspiring little session. And the cool thing we did recently as well. That was wicked. We need to do more of them.
Yeah, that was a vibe, and I totally agree that having that energy, that kind of excitement, but also I think what was cool every time that we've linked up is there's that nice competitive element where everyone wants to bring their A game, but it's not competitive in a way where we're trying to sort of our egos are running wild and we're trying to outdo each other. It's just fun.
Yeah. Not
It's just
snatching the
fun, and I could
mic.
keep saying when I listen to you, there's so many little. You're talking about the summer salad. Oh man, there's so many little references that just bring a smile to my face, and also the versatility. This is one thing I wanted to talk to you about as well. Now we're talking about sort of mic techers and the way we approach writing and stuff. One thing that interests me is that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but so before this morning, I went out for a run and I put on the AI set that you did when you guys came down and we did
Thames
the
Delta.
radio show for Leke.
Mm.
Yeah. So a lot of that was quite sort of soulful, and let's just use the term liquid. Everyone tends to know what liquid is. That kind of a liquid vibe. I don't necessarily love that terminology, but we all know what it means. So you can dip in and out and lean back over the liquid vibe just as easily as like the more techie stuff or the harder stuff. But what I kind of noticed, and this is what where I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, is that doesn't sound to me like you switch up your bars. Like you've got a liquid set of bars, then you've got the techie set of bars. You were coming with the same kind of vibe and just making it fit with a different tonality, maybe a different approach to it. So am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, there's some maybe the more militant bars that I might leave out, but yeah, on the whole, they're quite interchangeable. I've worked out that you can halve the tempo of your bars, you can stretch them out over something more melodic, and it has more impact. In fact, a good example of that was at that cool studio session when Sydney was on the mic, and then it was almost like he was treading on eggshells. He didn't want to override what she was saying, and for the first few goes with the first few like um ciphers of bars we were rolling out, that did happen, that overlap happened, but once you realize what she was coming with, it could work around that, and that basically involved spacing my lyrics out, stretching them out, man, and it still has the same impact. It just doesn't, it means that the what you're saying doesn't sound too cluttered. So yeah, with liquid I think that's kind of the approach I adopt. But yeah, I've got liquidy bars, you know, I've got lighter bars and that sort of thing, and I always sort of reserve them for those sorts of sets. But yeah, on the whole, pretty interchangeable. Big up, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words.
Mate, it's coming from the heart because yeah, I put you up there with the best of them, and I think this is something let's talk about it now. I sometimes feel like I don't know, man. Like what when it comes to drum and bass, especially because obviously there's hip hop, there's grime, there's drill, there's all these and jungle. There's all these different musical styles and genres that pretty much are born out of UK music and UK street culture and MC culture.
Sure.
I feel like when it comes to the drum and bass side of things, it feels like there's more of depending on what circles you move in and stuff like that, there can be sometimes a bit more of a disconnect, and it can be harder for the MC to shine. And
It's
I
getting harder for
definitely
the
what much
MCs to shine, man. It's getting harder.
yeah. Yeah, and what I was going to say is that I kind of hope this makes sense, but I put you. I don't want to. I don't want to use the terminology like unsung hero, but I'm going to use it. I feel that like I put you up there with the best of them. Honestly, I think you can spar it out, you can host it, you can do all of that. But there seems to be. It can be hard to. I don't know, man. It can be hard to. It's not about recognition. It can be hard to get beyond like a certain level within this thing, by which I mean like let's call it, I don't know, like a glass ceiling.
Yeah.
Do you understand the
Mm,
point I'm trying to
I
make?
think
Like
so,
what?
yeah. I think so.
So what are your thoughts around that? Because like look, I suppose what I mean is we've both been in this for like as we've established like 2 decades plus, and that's a big plus,
Right,
and
yeah.
we're very passionate about it, and we do what we do and we love it. But when you compare drum and bass to the other forms of music, I feel like it's harder for the MC to shine. So yeah, what are your thoughts on me saying that?
Yeah. My own perspective on that is that for the most part, drum and bass has focuses on the music, and my viewpoint when I'm emceeing is to enhance it, not override the music, not dominate it, just be there to enhance and introduce and connect with the crowd, but not override it. My approach is pretty minimal. With grime and drill and those other genres that you cited, then yeah, the focus is the other way around, right? It's on the MC, so it's completely different. It's an MC driven genre. With D&B, unless you're talking about like the old school jump up thing, or even jump up now, right? Where you've got a lot of MCs on that lineup, then, or if I think we're doing but this Bass Club thing in June where there's going to be that focus on MCs or an equal parity with the DJ. I think traditionally drum and bass has just been it's been about the music, right? And that's fine. That's cool with me, man. I'm not there to reinvent the wheel or um try and dominate and really assert myself over a set. Um it's yeah, it's different. Well, you're talking about the glass ceiling as well. I feel that's almost a separate thing where uh,
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I kind of mishmashed a few
no, no,
different
no, no, it's
things
cool. It's
together
cool.
there.
The glass ceiling thing, though, it's interesting because, yeah, I think there is one. Unless you're prepared to do those big worried about Henry events, or I don't want to name names as such. There's nothing wrong with those events at all, man. Respect to the people who who perform at them and are a part of them. It's just completely different to sort of traditional sort of drum and bass in its purest form in a way. Um, it's more like a sort of festival vibe inside. And yeah, if you're on those lineups, then you're going to be doing a completely different thing on the mic, I think. So I don't really feel any way about not perhaps having the opportunity to do those sorts of events. But yeah, I think when you're working with quite a headsy label in that environment, then there is a limit to where you're going to go. But that comes back to the integrity of the label, man. That it's good that they don't represent those big, more mainstream, um, less heady events and festivals. I quite like that, man. I quite like. Sorry, that was a really rambling, roundabout answer to your question, but hopefully you got the gist of what I was saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest with you, mate, it was a very rambled, roundabout question as well. But no,
Maybe we'll cut
it's
that one out.
interesting to hear your. Oh, I just want to hear.
Yeah.
Nah, man, nah, we're leaving that in,
All
bro.
right,
We're
we'll
leaving
leave
that
it
in,
in.
and I just want to hear your thoughts.
Mm,
That's all it is. This is just a catalyst to hear your
mm.
thoughts. So, how do you feel about this whole one topic I'd like to just talk about is drum and bass MCs being called hosts, and we're referred to, and I mean like literally me and you, but also some of our other peers and people that we've possibly name checked in this episode, right? Well, how do you feel about being called a host?
I felt all right about it until I heard your podcast the other day, and you were sort of kind of quite critical about the term, but I got what you were saying, man, and in terms of your definition of what a host is. Yeah, for
But
those.
for anyone that maybe not have heard that episode, then can you paraphrase or just even just reflect on what
So I think you were talking
the what you
about,
picked up from what I was
yeah,
saying?
when you were talking about a host, you were like those MCs who do work alongside those DJs who play a much more kind of mainstream interpretation of drum and bass. And those MCs would normally just literally hype the crowd up, very limited in their lyrical content, no kind of lyrical dexterity in there or whatever. Literally a hype. And some of them are really good at what they do, you know, it's a talent in itself to do that. I can't really do that as such, you know, not for an hour or two constantly. Um, but it's very different. And yeah, I think that's what you meant by a host, right? Someone who literally
Yeah,
tells the
yeah,
crowd to what to say and to respond or whatever. So yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And again, like just to like to add the caveat, hosting is an integral part of being an MC, in my opinion. But you know, I'm sure that we're on the same wavelength. Like you need to be able to host in order to be. It's one of the tools in the toolkit, isn't it? Because hosting, what does it even mean? Like
not
you're playing a
spitting
role
lyrics.
of. Yeah, well, it's almost like the old school definition of MC, like master of ceremony. You are being the conduit, the connection between. There's the DJ playing the music, there's the crowd, let's bridge the two together. And there are obviously like things that need to be done, like people need to know that, what DJ is playing and stuff like that. So hosting and crowd hyping is an essential tool in the kit. And I would actually say, like hosting, yeah, I can do it all day long. I've got that skill set. Crowd hyping is definitely not my forte. More than happy to go on record saying that. I can do it, of course, but so there's no disrespect here. The MCs that are on the big main stages with the more commercial acts doing the hosting and the crowd hyping, big up. It's not easy, and they do it fantastically. I also think as well, like some of these MCs, like they're actually sick lyricists. It's not. I'm not saying for 1 second, oh, because you're a host, like in inverted commas, a host MC, that you don't have the other skill set. Some of these guys are cold. They've got bars galore. They've got style. They've got flow, but they're working within a very limited remit. And you know, I think with me and you and the kind of stuff we do, while there still is a certain remit to work in to a degree, depending on the DJ and the night and the event and what the promoter wants and all the rest of it, we aren't really limited or confined in the same way. So, but I suppose like the question to you was, and then what I was just interested in hearing was, yeah, it's probably easier to put it like this: there's a certain school of thought that's aimed at drum and bass MCs in a way that it isn't aimed at all the other genres we've talked about. Where it's like, you can almost probably guess what I'm going to say. It's the classic backhanded compliment. Oh yeah, I like you as an MC because you know when to shut up. It's that one, isn't it?
Mm,
So,
yeah.
yeah. What are your thoughts on the whole you know when to shut up
Mm.
thing?
It's weird. It depends on the context of what it's being said. In fact, I've worked with Illogic and Raf at Intrigue. I done their set many moons ago, and I thought it was a great compliment when they said that to me. It was like, I don't normally like MCs, but you know, you held it down. And Fabio said a similar thing back in the Cellar in Oxford when I did a set for him. So I think when it comes from a raver, it's a bit different. You might not take that as such as a compliment as such, but when it comes from, you know, an artist or a peer, then it's slightly different. But you know, that said, there is truth in that statement. It is important to know when to shut up as an MC, and um, yeah, it's a big part of it. You know, you got to let the music breathe. Another cliche, but yeah, you can't spit bars for the entire duration of the set. You've got to switch out.
Yeah, I do agree. By the way, like people might be surprised to hear me say that. I'm not like some staunch activist where all I want to hear is the MC going ham for the whole set. Of course, like I love this music just as much as the DJs, by the way. Like I love this music, so I totally agree. Like it ain't about the MC just talking a load of waffle all the time and all the rest of it. I think, yeah, interesting what you say about Let It Breathe being another cliche. I did I talked about this on Instagram recently, and it got quite a lot of comments and stuff like that from people that were interested in. I was saying, yeah, totally agree. We need to let the music breathe. Like we are professional MCs, we know what we're doing. Of course, we're going to host it and do the right thing for the club, for the ravers, for the DJ. It goes about saying professional. The DJ sometimes need to know when to let the music breathe. Sorry, let the MC breathe, in the sense that don't be banging in another mix every 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
be
yeah.
working with an MC and then playing
A vocal
a
track.
billion vocal tunes that we
Have you had
can't,
that? I
because
take that as
that
it can be weird. Sorry to
ah
interrupt, bro, but I've done sets where
no,
it's
please.
almost exclusively vocal track. I was like, this guy really hates me, man. He's not letting me get a word in edgeways. He must hate me. Like a couple of guys, I can't even remember who it was, but I've done sets before where it's just been strictly vocal chase, and makes your job very easy. I guess it's the
Yeah.
easiest money you're gonna earn, but yeah, it's weird, man. You're
Well,
right.
it's very unfulfilling though, isn't it? Because you're there, you want to connect with the crowd, you want to, we're lyricists as well, and that's the point it's almost trying to make. Yeah, we're hosts, of course we are, but also lyricists. And yeah, if you've got a DJ that's just banging a new mix in every 30 seconds, which is obviously, for some DJs that's their style. I get that. Again, no disrespect, but why not let the music, let the MC breathe a bit, give them a space for them to drop their bars, and
Jube's
yeah,
good
the
at
the
letting the
whole
MC
relentless
breathe.
vocal tune thing.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Jube's
okay.
great at
I
letting the
suppose he's
MC
got to
breathe.
be in it because he's got that relationship working with SP. Like that's going to
Yeah,
be,
I guess his
you would
mixes
expect
are
that
nice
because
and long, man.
they're in sync. Yeah, for sure. And I suppose I'm not even trying to make a point. It's just a topic of discussion, isn't it? But I just think, yeah, in drum and bass, the MC isn't at the forefront, generally speaking. So that's cool. We get that. That's all good. But also, we do have something to say, and like let's just talk about you. You've got lyrics for days. So I want to hear them. I don't want to come to us as a raver. I don't want to come to a set with Mantmast on the flyer and just hear you hosting. I want to hear some bars. I'm gonna feel like I've been hard done by if I don't hear Mantmast spitting some football techers or putting that smile on my face. So yeah, it's a two-way street essentially, isn't it?
It is, and it's yeah. Again, funny you should say that because you do get those guys at the front, right? Who seem to know your bars and they're there like telling you to spit, and you're there for 3-4 hours on the mic. I'm trying to tell these guys, look, I got to pace myself, man. This is a marathon. I got to stretch these bars out. You're gonna have to stay for the duration if you want to hear them all. But um, yeah, it is. It is a bit like that, man. It is a bit like that. The hardest bit is trying to
And yeah, it's
recollect
funny
them
that
for me. Trying to recollect them,
okay.
especially the new ones. And I don't know, sometimes when you're doing an event, have you ever had them ones where you just pick up the mic, as soon as you get on the mic, everything just goes out your head? Maybe not, because you're a natural freestyler, man. But yeah, bit of a mental block thing.
I don't know if I'm not a natural. I've always I kind of take. I mean, thank you, but I kind of take issue with the word natural. It just in the sense that, is it natural or is it just that I've spent a while doing it and now that means I can kind of do it quite well. I don't know if I wasn't like born. I wasn't born freestyling. Do you know what I mean?
I heard
There's
you're
lots of
playing
years
this
where I
down.
was
I've heard you in
rubbish.
the studio, bro, and
No.
when
But
you're
yeah,
in
but there's
full
there's there's
flow,
there's a lot of years where I was rubbish.
better than
But
me.
look, no, big up, man, big up. But to your point, what I find interesting is some of my 100%. You said, do I have sets where you touch the mic and it all goes out of your head? Yeah, I do. But I think the best sets, some of my favorite sets, and like where I just know inherently on the inside that I'm feeling so good about the set, can often be the ones where I've probably hardly done any of the catalogue of bars, because the vibe is so good that even just saying the right things in the right place and just weaving in and out and a little freestyle here, you could listen back to the recording, for instance, if it was recorded, and be like, oh, right, I didn't even do any of the back cat of bars.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not even sure if like the best sets are the ones where like you've got all the lyric, because I just think like it's the energy and the spontaneousness and the
Mm,
intuition is all like in the
mm.
right mix.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. And that goes back to how we as MCs complement the music as such. Really, you don't need to spit your freshest, your newest bars. As long as what you're saying sits nicely and complements the structure, then that's a positive.
Yeah, for real. And I think as well, like, you know, we've touched on radio in different aspects a few times, but that's why when you compare the live environment to the radio environment, they're two different beasts, aren't they? So how how do you what are the differences for you when you're coming to a radio set in contrast to hosting a big critical show? Like, how are you approaching that, and how, if you could break that down for the listeners at all, what the differences might be?
Yeah, I'm much more hyper aware in the studio. It depends if it's being filmed as well, because that's another layer of consideration you need to have. How you're coming across on camera, how you're holding yourself. Um, so yeah, I'd say it's a bit tougher, maybe requires a bit more planning for a studio set, but that's maybe because I do more live sets than recorded ones, so maybe I'm not just as experienced at them. But yeah, there's a certain degree of planning and the delivery. You're projecting a lot more. You're projecting your voice a lot more in a live as opposed to in the studio. You know the levels are all going to be crisp in the studio. You've got some mad producer who's setting everything up nicely, so you don't need to worry about that as such. The benefit of having a little sound check before your set can be immeasurable. And then it's about the projection. Like I've been in clubs so many times. I've got quite a loud voice, man, and I have to get sometimes the engineer to turn me down, or I'll get someone in the crowd telling me turn me up or turn me down. So it's a bit of trial and error there. So um,
So that's quite a nice problem to have, isn't it? Getting the engineer to turn you down.
I come all the
That's
time,
like,
man.
that's
All the
it's
time. I don't know if it's my
unusual. It's normal.
microphone
Well,
or
for me,
what,
it's
but mm,
yeah, interesting, man. And I was going to say this actually, and you give me a nice segue into that. Is in terms of voice projection, you definitely have that kind of voice that, yeah, it's got that. It just resonates outwards and it fills the club up. Is that something you've had to work on?
yeah, I think so. Maybe not consciously as such, but yeah, I hated the sound of my voice when I started doing this. Hearing myself in mixers, used to have a really high voice, really reedy, weak voice. And so that is something that I've had to switch up a little bit. Well, I did anyway all those years ago. But as I've got older, as you've probably discovered, Phil, your voice lowers naturally, and that kind of works quite nicely as well. So uh, I think again with practice and experience, you're learning to modulate. I think that's quite an appropriate word. You're learning to modulate your voice. Um, in on a set, so you're not dominating, or if you need to be heard, you've got that control over it, and that's a skill, I guess, that comes with experience. Yeah,
Yeah,
not
for
saying I'm any
sure.
good
Yeah,
at
good word, that modulate.
it.
Nah, come on, man. Like modulate, control. Yeah, they're two really good words, and it's an interesting topic. I mean, I speak to some, I'm not trying to say like younger MCs, maybe more like, I don't like the term up and coming, but and the topic of conversation that does actually come up sometimes is about the sound of your voice and voice projection. And it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I don't really like the sound of my voice, and you just said yourself like you didn't really like the sound of yours. I do agree. Like I think as you get older, the voice changes a little bit, but I still get that little voice in my head when I'm on set, like even within the last couple of months, whatever, where in my head that little flipping nagging little inner critic that's going, the voice ain't sounding that good, man. And it is something that I've had to deal with. So, like, do you? I know you said you weren't necessarily conscious of what you did, but can you relate to that at all? Like this thing of the inner critic, and yeah, like we're talking around voice. So in that sort of context, like, well, let me ask you two things. Firstly, how does that show up for you?
Okay, the inner critic thing, yes, it's a real thing. It can be a real driver in terms of improving quality, or it can be quite debilitating and detrimental if you're beating yourself up all the time saying, yeah, I sound terrible, I sound shit, not good enough, this sounds awful, you're doubting yourself. It's about controlling that inner voice and not letting it run riot and beat you down. But I find it an incredibly useful tool. Like I said earlier, I touched on it. I'm not really satisfied 100% with my output, and I find in a way that it pushes me to keep improving. I want the next bar I want to write is always, I always want to make sure that the next bar I'm writing is better than the last bar I've written. I compare my old lyrics with the new ones. I think that trajectory is sort of more or less headed the right way. But yeah, it's about controlling that inner voice, because yeah, when that self-doubt creeps in and that self-criticism creeps in, it can be quite destructive. And you've got to temper that with bigging yourself up a little bit, man. And I guess that's, helps having friends around you support you. Your friends are always going to big you up. So maybe not the best place to go for balanced critique as such. Uh, but it's good to have that support network, man, because yeah, you can have a lot of self-doubt in this industry, whether it's lack of gigs, seeing other people smash it, missing out on certain bookings, or just coming away from a set and you're thinking, nah, I didn't do a great job there. But you can channel that and you can work with it and you can direct it in a positive way. And I think that's what I've become better at over the last few years, man.
Are you aware of how you go about doing that in terms of exactly what you just said there, in terms of controlling or channeling, as you described it? Are you aware of how you go about doing that?
Yeah. Um, I'll always have that subconscious, that inner voice, you know, confirming whether what I've just written is decent or not, or whether it needs working on, or whatnot. I guess it depends on your mood as well. It's weird, right? I write the best bars when I'm not in a particularly good mood. I don't know about you. I don't know how you operate, what your process is, but when things are blessed and everything's going all right and you're doing stuff and you're everything's positive and upwards inflection in life, then I don't tend to be as productive as such. Maybe that's because I'm distracted by other day-to-day things. But sometimes I just need to be in a filthy mood or get something off my chest or come away from a heavy Arsenal defeat or just have a bad day in general. And that will really prompt me to, I find it therapeutic as well. And I think that's equally important, but it will prompt me to write and come up with something new. And I think I write my best stuff when I'm in that frame of mind. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, man, mate, that's so interesting. What I kind of pick up from you as you're talking about this stuff is that you have a very, what I would kind of refer to as like a growth mindset approach to this stuff. Like you're able to take things and use them as a driver to improve and take things forwards, but not necessarily from a place of self-deprecation, where you don't use it as like a stick to beat yourself up with. You use it as a way to drive yourself forwards, and there's a big difference between those two approaches. So yeah, you strike me as someone that's developed, or whether this is something that you're conscious of, or yeah, that growth mindset element seems present in what in the way that you're breaking this down.
I think it's about compartmentalization, right? When you do take an L or a knockback, it's about, you know, processing that, dealing with it, experiencing it in the moment, and then just putting it to one side and learning from it and moving on. Trust me, I'd never thought, I didn't always think like that. Quite impulsive when I was younger. And again, that's something that comes with age and growing up and maturity, right? And life experiences. So yeah, I think the growth thing is definitely a relevant comment.
So just going back to what we were talking about a minute ago about the voice, the tonality, because it was so interesting where we ended up talking about the inner critic and then this whole kind of growth mindset thing, which is fantastic. But yeah, just to bring you back to that thing, because I do get asked this specifically by people that I talk to, and I'm just interested again just to get your perspective. So again, sorry, putting you on the spot, but if an up and coming or young MC said to you, what advice or what tips could you help me um, get more confident around the sound of my voice and voice projection and that kind of thing around using your voice as a tool or an instrument. Is there anything from your own experience and some of the things we touched on that you could give to them
Yeah,
as a bit of a tip?
practice makes perfect, really, the old adage. Just keep working at it, honing it and perfecting it, because I don't think I'm ever going to be perfect or completely at the pinnacle of like the zenith of what I want to achieve, and just having that inner hunger, but at the same time not being too harsh on yourself. Another bit of advice I'd give is try not to listen to your peers too much, because it's quite easy to subliminally absorb influences um, from other people. It's easier said than done, right? It really is. Everyone's influenced by someone. Everyone, right? Everyone. And that goes for producers as well. But mm, yeah, with the MCing thing, that bit of advice, believe it or not, that come from the back of a Radio Times copy. I read it when I was like 12 years old, from Vera Lynn. You know, the Second World War sweetheart. You used to go
Yeah,
around
yeah,
singing to the
yeah.
forces, the armed forces. She was saying, like, I don't listen to your peers. I read that and I took it. I thought, yeah, you know what? She's got a point. You know what? Because
Mate,
I do find myself getting, if you do listen to someone, or doesn't even have to be another drum and bass MC. It could be whatever your favorite rapper is, or whatever. You know, you are going to absorb some of that in what you're saying, and I think that's quite worthwhile advice.
look, people, world exclusive here. You just heard it from the man's mouth. Forget Tribe Called Quest. Forget all these other Don MCs. Mantmast's biggest influence is Vera Lynn.
Type Vera Lynn, yeah, R.I.P.
We'll meet again. Is that one of her rhythms?
It's true though,
Is
man.
that
It's
one of her
true.
bars?
Don't listen to your peers.
Now, the other thing I was just going to say on a more on a more serious note, we don't have to be serious, but on a more sensible note, was that there's that fine line between that you have to tread carefully between inspiration, getting inspired and influenced by someone, like you said, we all do it. No, who is completely original? No one. But it can't become the other side of the line as you tread it is imitation, isn't it? And that's obviously a different kettle of fish. So yeah, it's a tricky one as an MC for sure. Who do you think? Who do you think is one of the biggest? I know you talked about people that you grew up listening to, but is there anyone in particular that really inspired you, but you had to be careful that it didn't go from inspiration to imitation? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess
Is there
any
anyone that
of
you can
those
think of
guys
that you had
who,
to almost like go, oh, I've got to stop listening to them now because I might end up sounding too much
but
like them
I can
otherwise?
apply that theory, that logic to my mate Burley. You know, he influenced me a lot. You know, to the point where I've got some of his influences in my bars now, because we sparred together for so long back in the day, lyrically. So just anyone, any of those hardware MCs, AD, SP, like Rage, they're amazing, incredibly talented artists. Um, and yeah, it gets to a point where yeah, you can't listen to those guys all day because you'll subliminally absorb what they're saying. That said, it's quite difficult with certain words and certain couplets that you use. You'll hear it, someone else saying it. It's like, oh, did I say that first, or did they say it first? Like, or is it just sheer coincidence? And it's like, damn, if I say that in the rave, people are going to think I've been biting him. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just write
Well, I
my own
get
things,
you.
and I just stick with what I do, and I just, if I hear someone saying something similar, I'm not going to stop saying it. I'll still say it, but that's why I write a lot, man, and I try and keep things fresh because I want to keep coming up with something different and new, right? I never really understood some of those MCs who just haven't written anything for like 20 years and are still banging out the same. I mean, don't get me wrong, you've got the crowd singing along to what they're saying, maybe, but I just think as an artist, as an MC, it's just really important to keep things fresh and keep writing and be innovative.
Yeah. Well, there you go, mate. That's that part of you that wants to keep growing, keep developing, that drive. See, I get that. Yeah, no, that's really interesting to hear that. Boy, we've been talking for a long time. I feel like I could keep on talking to you for a lot longer. There's a couple of other things I'd like to ask you as we kind of maybe move towards the the latter end of this conversation. One of the things is this: you've been around for a hell of a long time. You've got a distinctive style. You've got you're connected with lots of different producers and labels and all of that stuff. But other than the odd track that you mentioned maybe earlier on, like you don't really do a lot of vocal D&B tunes. What is that a conscious decision? Like, talk to me a bit about that. What's going on there? Have you decided deliberately to not do that, or is it just how things have
Varying
panned out?
factors,
I'm interested.
varying factors. You know, I've been quite self-critical. It's difficult, right? When you're doing something, sounds sick in the studio, and then after weeks or months, you're like, doesn't sound great, but you've kind of gone along with the finished product. And yeah, maybe I've been guilty of that in the past. Um, Finding the right people to work with, having that right opportunity. There are things in the pipeline coming, fingers crossed. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, and it
Giving us a
is,
little tidbit there.
yeah, a little teaser, but it is a case of, yeah, just wanting to work with the right person, the right people, and having something that is worthy of being released out there, putting it out there. It's weird, like with even with what I consider to be my favorite bars, my best bars. It's like, do they really sit over a drum and bass track, right, or is it better suited in the rave? And I think that's the adjustment that I need to make, making something more studio friendly as opposed to more rave friendly. But yeah, that's
Yeah, I get that. I
hopefully
get
going to
that.
change.
Because we're living in a time now where the MC, like, so the drum and bass MC specifically, the drum and bass MC is now becoming more of an artist. The market, if there's a for want of a better term, like the market is more open to that. Um, what I find interesting, I'd love to get your opinion on this as well. What I find interesting is that there seems to be more of an appetite. I'm not making this as a blanket statement, and this isn't a criticism. Again, like it's just an observation, and I want your opinion on this, bruv. But there seems to be more of an appetite for D&B producers to work with artists that are not really from the pool of drum and bass MCs. So when you get a lot of tunes that come out and they're sick tunes and they might cross over a bit or they just get a lot of play, even forget crossing over, like they get a lot of play, they're what strikes me as a lot of the time, they tend to be more a hip hop artist or a grime artist that is now linked up working with a D&B producer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I sometimes wonder. In fact, I'd probably like to speak to some producers about this because I'm just genuinely interested. But by the way, again, quick caveat: I, most of these tunes, I think they're sick, and some of my favorite artists are coming into the drum and bass world and doing tunes. So, like, what's not to love? But then again, sometimes I think, why are these producers not working with the MCs that have put their last 2 or 3 decades
Yeah.
into this scene? Is it because they don't value them as an artist? We're just seen, and I'm saying we as in the collective we, they're just seen as the guys that host the sets. When we want to do a tune with an artist, yeah, boom, we're going for the hip hop guy or the grime guy. What do you
Mm.
think?
Yeah, I think there's an element of truth to that. There's definitely been a wave of grime guys who've come over and worked with drum and bass producers and on live sets and in the studio as well. I mean, it's cool. It adds to the diversity of it all. I don't really see it as a sort of treading on toes as such. Maybe it's a situation where that genre that they've come from is a little bit dead or dried up or whatever, and so they've come over to drum and bass to find their niche. I don't know, but yeah, it sometimes works, you know. Yeah, I'm for it. I'm positive about it, but yeah, I hear what you're saying about perhaps producers neglecting drum and bass artists, MCs, vocalists who've always been there. Maybe it's like some of those grime MCs are coming from, you know, a place where they've got a huge following, and they've established themselves heavily, and they're almost icons in the scene, and they've come over. You know, that's fair enough, man. These guys are,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you can kind of see why that works as a collaboration, but I don't feel too much way about it. But Yeah, I see where you're coming from, man. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, man. No, I think that's a really good point. And don't get me wrong, like there's it's not like I love every single you're not always gonna love every tune. But yeah, I think well, that's a good point you just made actually. Iconic artists working with producers and stuff in the drum and bass world is sick. I think it does a lot for the scene and it also opens up people to what I'm trying to say, like seeing an MC as an artist. So I think that is all good. There's not really any negative about it. I just wonder, and again, maybe it's more a question for producer. I just wonder why less drum and bass MCs that have also got that iconic heritage are. But then again, as I'm saying this, is that even true? I'm more than happy to kind of like debate myself here because like GQ, Spider, Trigger, Skibber. uh, a lot of them have done tracks with producers. So what I suppose like I need to be more specific. There are loads of examples of iconic heritage, let's say legacy MCs working with producers. But yeah, the D&B underground seems to be a bit I don't know, man. I wonder if but then again what it makes me think is that maybe it's nothing to do with the producer. Maybe the MCs don't want to do it. Maybe the MCs aren't looking to step into that role. And
Yeah.
look, you even just said it yourself. Like you're not always sure if the style of bars that you enjoy writing and performing would
Mhm.
necessarily suit a D&B production. So maybe it's a mix of all these different factors.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And it could just be like that's the flavor of the month, right? That's just what's popular and has been for the last few years, and maybe that will change, and there'll be a different thing coming through. So yeah, maybe it's a combination of all things, man. But yeah, just keep
I
doing what I'm
do
doing.
feel like the time is because what I want to make clear to people is that this I'm not having a moan here at all. I think, and I'm going to ask this question to lots of different guests that I have on because I think it does interest me. But yeah, I think drum and bass MCing and the MC becoming an artist in their own right is the healthiest it's ever been. Do you know what I mean? You've only got to look at people that I kind of look to who are sort of setting the speed really, like Inja and DRS, just as two clear examples that come
PVC as
straight to the
well.
tip
Man
of the
broke
tongue.
through quite recently over the last couple of years, man, and
Yeah,
he's yeah him
PVC.
PVC. I think he's hospitality MC. Yeah, I've met him a couple of times,
Okay.
man. Real safe guy and sounds sick in the booth. So yeah, there are newer cats coming through, but yeah, it's an interesting one, man. I haven't really put a huge amount of thought into it, but maybe it's just tonally, vocally, some of those grime guys sound better
Mm,
over, or the perception is that they sound more sort of natural over that tune. Who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe it is down to the producers.
yeah,
But I guess you got to look at the producers who are,
it's a question I'm going to keep asking.
yeah. Maybe you look at the producers who are working with those grime guys and look at what labels they're on. Maybe they're on the bigger, more mainstream labels, and maybe that's kind of what it
Yeah.
is. But yeah, it's interesting, man.
Yeah, and it makes total sense to me as well from a business and marketing perspective. I get it, like because like you said yourself, some of these artists are like iconic or they've got just a persona that fits really well to a certain demographic that in a way that like like you stick me on a tune like for instance like it's just gonna have a different aesthetic. That's a good word, aesthetic. I think sometimes certain things fit and they work and that's great. All credit to everyone that's just looking to put good music out at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm a fan of this for sure. But yeah, I think the MC coming to the forefront a bit more as an artist. I think we're living in good times. So yeah, I know you've kind of teased us a little bit, but I look forward to hearing some Mantmast projects coming soon. Give me a little sneak preview, maybe.
First to know.
So who do you feel for you has set the blueprint? If you were going to look to one artist within the drum and bass scene who you feel kind of set the blueprint for, well, yeah, set the MC blueprint. Do you feel that there's someone that you would gravitate towards?
GQ is like the Don, right? He's the Don in my eyes. I mean, you've got MCs from a similar lineage, I guess. Like I don't know, trying to think of who obviously Skipper before he passed, but I think GQ. is still consistently killing it, and he's working with everyone,
Yeah.
man, like across the board. He's one of the most versatile MCs out there. So yeah, big props to him. And obviously some of the other guys I've mentioned that I've touched on. AD, another versatile guy. I did a night with him a few weeks ago, Soul in Motion. Real headsy night, little 300-400 cat venue, real gritty underground night. And then he'll do crewcast events, working on a huge scale at festivals. So he
Yeah.
switches
Yeah.
it up. Technically, like the best MCs, DRS, SP, I'd say up there. Yourself, man, 100%. Like lyrical content is right up there. So yeah, all of those guys and more, man, and more. I wanted to also shout out Too Shy as well, because when we were chatting about wanting to make that crossover with the bars thing to doing the bigger thing, he's that guy. He can seamlessly work with massive names, not even necessarily in D&B in its pure sense, or with more headsy artists as well. So. Yeah, a lot of them guys, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Too Shy as well, actually, because everything you just said, I totally agree with. Well, I think before I'll come back to Too Shy in one set. I think the word that strikes me as well, we're talking about the MCs that have set the blueprint, is longevity, isn't it? These people, like you said, like GQ is the one that I would say as well, and I think most people, to be fair, like it's just decade after decade, still there, still fresh, still passionate, still representing,
Yeah,
still versatile. It's like, yeah, I think that's the GQ has set the blueprint. And yeah, Too Shy, yeah, absolutely. Love to get him on the podcast. I think it kind of feeds into that conversation. Too Shy can be on the main stage doing the big crowd hyping thing, but when you listen to like the sound bites mixtapes that he's put out recently, I still haven't heard a better mixtape this year than Soundbites Volume 2 from Too Shy. If you haven't listened to it, please, after you finish listening to this episode, of course, stay with us for a little bit longer. Go and check that out. It is bar for bar, lyric for lyric. Too Shy is not playing games. Have you listened
he's
to it?
he's a serious MC. No, I haven't, man. I haven't. I'm gonna have to go check it out because
Mate, right, that's your
I've seen some of his
that's your
little things.
homework,
I've seen
bruv.
some of his little stories and that, his little ciphers, which are sick. But no, I haven't
Yeah.
checked.
That's John, that's your homework. Listen to Soundbites Volume 2. Volume 1's sick as well, but from like stories, like actual stories about growing up and like an element of like emotion to them, to just like out and out gutter bars, like taking heads off type stuff. Yeah. And yeah, I feel like the gauntlet in terms of like, I love a good old studio mix, where someone spent the time like making the vocal sound crisp and putting the delay on the ends of certain words at the end of a bar so they delay out, like
Yeah,
Conrad and DRS used to do so amazingly on the good looking mixes. Just taking that time and effort for a good old studio mix. So yeah, man, look, big up all the MCs that we've mentioned. And I feel like that kind of brings us nicely to an organic conclusion with the last thing I'm going to ask you before we kind of sign out is this. It's a nice hypothetical question, a type of annoying question you don't want to be asked on a podcast because you have to think on your feet and you go away thinking, I didn't say this one, didn't say that one. But you've got the chance to create your dream cipher. MCs, past, present, future, alive or dead. They're going to get together in a cipher that you curate, and you can have a maximum of 5 MCs in this cipher. Take your time. Don't feel under any pressure. But who are your 5 in your dream
give it a
cipher?
half an afternoon to do this properly. But off the top of my
I'm
head,
putting you on the spot.
you are putting on me on the spot. Big L and Prodigy for the two aren't here. And the US guys, I'd say Jest. I know you're a big Jest fan. One of the best UK
Mm-hmm.
MCs that's ever existed. Um, Two more. Damn, this is tough. Yeah. This is a really difficult question, man, for it on the spot thing. So, uh, I ain't gonna come back to you. I'll give you two answers. Let's say Guru from Gangstar, because again, he's passed, but he was a massive influence. I see that guy live as well at Kentish Town Forum, I think it was, and he was sick and lyrically untouched. But one more, I can't just go with US rappers, right? I've got to pick a UK one. Let's say a cipher. Man, I've been in a cipher with you and you shelled it. So yeah, let's pick you as the fifth guy. That's a real eclectic, weird mix
You're
there,
putting
right?
me into that cipher,
Bro,
yeah?
I'm putting you
Woo.
in the cipher, man.
Wow.
Because
Jeez. I better have my Weetabix on that day then. If I'm so, hold on a minute. So we're stepping into a cipher. We've just to recap. We've got Big L, Prodigy, Jest, Guru, Focus.
Mate, I think you'd be like the
Wicked.
driving, you'd be the catalyst. You'd be feeding everyone, man. They'd be bouncing off you, feeding off you, man. No, it's definitely a question I'm gonna have to put a bit more
Amazing.
thought into, right? And come back to you maybe with a more
Nah, man.
comprehensive
Look, whatever
answer.
comes up is what comes up. So yeah, look, if you want to hit me up after the show, we can always
Refine it.
update the listeners. But yeah, it's just a bit of fun, man. So listen, bro, we've been talking for a good few hours, man. Thoroughly enjoying it. Could continue, but I think let's wrap it up there. Is there anything like to take a moment? Like, is there anything you want to plug, big up? Where can people find you on socials?
Yeah.
Anything of that nature? Please feel free to drop that in.
All right. You can find me on the usual places, the usual platforms, just Mantmast, Mantmast. Um, Gig wise, next thing I'm doing is the charity event. So yeah, you should all come to that if you're in London, surrounding areas. It's a MOT venue in South London, I think. I've not played there yet, but I'm going to be touching that on the first. That is the bank holiday weekend or the start of the bank holiday weekend. So potential long weekend there, and that's with the Critical guys. Oh, MC Limbs, I'm working with there, but Kazra and Enai, Spectral, and Vizsla, I think. Don't quote me on that,
Nice.
but yeah, that's all in aid of Trussell Trust, man. They do they help people out with who might have to use food banks, so they do food parcels and that sort of thing in and around the UK as well. So all proceeds going to the Trussell Trust. They've run out of early bird tickets, but there's £10 ones left. And then after that, I'm going to be at Soul in Motion. I've got a few little bits here and there, and I'm doing Beantown this year as well. So yeah, I want to
Sick.
big up Peas as well. The Bars Club. We're looking forward to our little Bars Club rinse out in June. Yeah, that should be a sick little event. And big up all the guys involved in that. So yeah, all of them guys. So yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on. Chewed the fat with you for
Yeah,
like
big
two
up,
and a half
man. No,
hours.
thank you for spending your bank holiday Monday with me. Did you just give your social name?
Yeah,
Did you say what it is?
Mantmast. So it's just my name, whether it's Instagram or I'm not really on X, man, to be honest with you. Barely post on threads. So yeah, Facebook, Instagram is just Mantmast, Mantmast.
Bro, I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you, hearing your story, these insights. There's some absolute gems in there. So big up. And yeah, this won't be the last time that we have these type of conversations, man. Trust me.
Been a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on once again. It's good to chat with you, man.
Big up. And final thing, okay? I know I've been putting you on the spot. Are you going to drop us a 16?
And a cappella as well, yeah.
Yeah, I want acapellas. I want acapellas.
Oh, bro, you know what? I'm gonna have to pick one then. All right.
Mate,
Let me have some
I'm
water
just going to shut
first.
up and sit here now in silence.
This could go one of two ways. It could fall flat on his face or it could sound sick. So, all right. Oh. Might-minded living large. That's how we run it hard. I'm down in the street like Prime Minister. It's Mad Mars, not Kia Star. My bar's cutting sharper than scimitar. Something sinister. I grip the mic more than beer glass. Inflate your chest, no need for CPR. I'm old school like VCR. Got the black belt techers, ESR. Straight face, but I don't mean no harm. Do it for the ravers that are feeling charged. Made my eyes smart when we apart. Cause life moves faster than a speeding car. Can you feel the spark? These sharp darts might pierce your heart. The way we rap never similar. Pure drama like Middlemarch. All right, that's all you're getting.
Yo, come on, man. The ESR, you had to do it.
I had to touch
Black
that
belt
one, man.
techers, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. So people know what I'm chatting
Bro,
about.
big up, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Right,
Peace.
we're going to sign out. You've been listening to Mike-Minded People, myself and my special guest, Mantmast. Please go and follow Mike-Minded People on Instagram, at Mike-Minded People. The episodes are out on YouTube, Spotify and Apple, so you're already an avid listener. Please share this with your friends. We're building this from the ground up. It's all about the culture, the craft, the conversation for the love of MCs across the musical spectrum. Until next time, people, we're out. Peace.